We are now on lesson 6 of Croy's primer, and this is probably you're going to feel like this is an annoying lesson. It's kind of a bit of a hodgepodge of several irregularities in Greek. So maybe it's been easy, but now you're going to learn some kind of exceptions to the rules that we've covered. So let's just go on. So the first irregularity is that there are some feminine nouns of the second declension. Okay, so here's two examples. I erimos and I odos. So you notice that has masculine or second declension endings, what we're used to with the masculine, but it takes a feminine or a first declension article. There aren't many words that do this, but erimos and odos are common words in the New Testament, and they do it. And there is also the opposite, where there are masculine nouns of the first declension. And so two of the main examples here are o mathetis and o prophetis. So notice again, it has that feminine ending, but then a masculine article, or second declension article, first declension endings. And this one is also a little weird because it mixes in, if you look at this, it's feminine all the way through, except the genitive singular has a second declension form. So there's no new forms, but it's just an irregularity of some words. So as you're reading, it shouldn't really catch you off guard, but just be aware of it. So you don't need to memorize any new forms. Just know that there's a few words here that they have second declension articles and first declension endings and vice versa. Next, you have prepositions, and these are words like to, in, with, by, and so on. So every language basically has these. They're similar to English. A difference, though, is that in Greek, there are certain prepositions that have different meanings based off of the case that they take. Okay, so if we go back, well, let's just go here. So like dia. Dia, if you have dia and then the noun that follows it is a genitive, dia means through. If the noun that follows it is accusative, then it means for the sake of or because of. Okay, so when you learn do your flashcards. Let me go back to the vocab here. Notice here it says apo plus genitive. That's important to remember, that apo takes the genitive case with its noun after it. And then you'll see down here, dia takes genitive, means through. With the accusative, it means for the sake of or because of. It might be the only... Okay, peri is another one of those. That with the genitive, it means about or concerning. And with the accusative, it means around. And I missed meta up here. With the genitive means with the accusative means after. And you need to memorize those because that does affect the meaning. Usually, just by reading in context, you'll be able to tell what the meaning is, but not always. So it's good to memorize at this point as you're doing your flashcards to make sure you get those differences. A helpful way, possibly, to learn, so charts like this, where prepositions are relationships kind of in a spatial environment. So like is means into, so you should visually picture something going into an object, versus like pros means towards, so going towards, not necessarily into. Dia means going through with the genitive. Apo means going away from something. Ek means going out of something. So they can often be translated both as from, but just realize that ek is normally coming out of something, that kind of from. And so having a visual diagram like this can be helpful to learn your prepositions, because you should think of them spatially. You should think of them on a diagram like this, and this can help you rather than just kind of rote memorizing meanings of these prepositions. Okay, so we did prepositions. So special constructions with them. There's just a couple here. One, so notice here, o anthropos o ento iko. You have the what we learned last week, article, noun, article. You'd expect an adjective, but here you kind of have the prepositional phrase standing in as the adjective. So this is the in the house man is a way you could translate it, or the man that is in the house. It's another probably smoother English to translate it. So just like with the adjective, where you can stick an article at the front and make it substantival, you can do that with a prepositional phrase as well. Stick the article in the front, and you should think of this kind of as a one unit. The in the house person. And then it just notes that there's some verbs that often take certain prepositions with it, like pistevo takes is often with it, so believe in. Those shouldn't be too hard. I mean, those you can just read and translate, and it'll be pretty straightforward in English, but it's just kind of like some verbs take different cases, and so don't be surprised if those same verbs take prepositions after them that correspond to the cases. Like here, is similar to the dative. Okay, an irregularity here. So some prepositions drop their final vowel. This is called elision. So like here. So instead of apo, uranu, sometimes if it's before a vowel, it will drop. Ap, uranu. Or met, angelu. If it drops its vowel and it's before a rough breathing mark, like here, imeron, you can see the rough breathing mark there, then the consonant will lengthen in some way. So rather than met, it's meth. Or here, ap becomes af. It's still recognizable. You can still tell that this is probably from meta and this is probably from apo. But just be aware. Recognize that. It changes its letter when it's before a rough breathing mark. So remember that. Okay. And then finally, the last irregular thing in this chapter is that neuter plural subjects, often, it's not uncommon for them to take singular verbs. So here, ta tekna u gnoski. Okay, notice that this is third person singular, gnoski. But the subject is neuter plural, ta tekna. And this is just a feature. Often, Greek normally had a single verb. So, if you see a plural subject that's neuter, don't be surprised if the verb is third singular. But, again, you probably won't even realize that, because you'll just be reading, and you'll just skip right over it and won't even notice it. So, hopefully if you're just drilling yourself reading, that this shouldn't be too much of a problem. But there you go. That's it. Lesson 6. Irregularities. Hopefully they're not too frightening. And they're irregular, but they should be noticeable. There's not too many grammatical changes involved. It's just stuff you already know rearranged a little bit. So, all right.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Bible Toolbox. All of the resources mentioned in this episode are posted on our website, thebibletoolbox.com. There you can also find out more information on how to give and support us. And we have loved all of the encouragement and feedback we've received from you. So thanks so much.